Welcome to the May 2015 Apple iPhone Developer Group in Austin, Texas. We have a meetup every first Tuesday of the month here at Capital Factory, and we have different speakers come up and talk about things all the way from iPad design to Apple Watch design, development, all that. Also project management and UX, all included in talks that we do here. And so we have today a speaker from Handsome. Her name is Deanna, and she is gonna get up here and talk.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Sweet introduction. See if I can make this Apple TV work accordingly. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Didn't realize when I signed up for this thing that it was Cinco de Mayo. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, happy Cinco. And happy rainy day. So I do have a presentation. I'm going to go through it. I've got some stuff I'm going to talk about, but feel free to stop me and interrupt or ask questions, or if I talk too quickly or say something that didn't make any sense, feel free to just interrupt me at any time. So we'll be talking today about human-centered product development. We are, damn it, Apple TV. All right, if I have too many issues with Apple TV, I'll switch over. I'm going to try it, but for some reason this computer really doesn't like Apple TV. Yeah, okay, all right. So we really work to drive user experience with empathy, shared vision, and interaction prototypes. And we kind of round this all out into a human-centered approach. And so that's what I'll talk to you guys about today. Starting with kind of like, why do we all do what we do? We're solving problems for humans, right? I'll talk a bit about our product development team and how Handsome approaches product development. And then dive into empathy, sort of what it is, why we use it, how we work to understand the users, then go into shared vision, which is really talking about co-ownership, everyone on the team who's building something and is really acting as an owner. Then we'll talk a bit about interaction prototypes, which is the most fun stuff for today, and then a quick call to action. We can do things better. So diving into products that solve problems for humans. What a beautiful reality we live in, right? We've got computers that do everything we need them to do for us. It's supposed to make our lives easier. I think they mostly do, right? We have tech that can do absolutely everything. Mobile is always on. Can't imagine it any other way. At this point, I love this ad. You guys know New Relic. I was in Portland a couple weeks ago and they had ads up everywhere saying, life is too short for bad software, or life is too short for little poo pile software. For me, software can lead to broken hardware, right? Like something is frustrating you on your phone, you just want to throw it out the window. And so consumers these days really expect a lot out of the applications that they're using. And just thinking about an ideal user experience, we're going to consider the person who's using it and their experience and how they're interacting with whatever software it is that we're putting out there. And hopefully make something that solves a problem. So I've worked a lot with a lot of different clients, right? And everybody's got ideas. Ideas like, I'm going to build the next social network, or I'm going to build something that's like Tinder for Uber, or like eBay for Bitcoin. Everybody has these really great ideas about what they're going to build. For us, we work to get to the heart of the issue. I get your aspirations, and certainly you're going to be the next social network, for sure. But let's think about what assumptions we're making when we're going out to build a new product. Really get to the heart of what is the problem that we're solving. Is this a real problem that people have? Right? That's your validation that this is potentially something that someone would want to use. And then who are you solving it for? Right? That's the actual human that's going to be using this thing. And then why? What's the purpose? Is it really going to solve a problem? Is it going to make someone's life easier? Is it going to reduce some frustration? Right? We always work to validate all of these things before we just launch into building the next social network. You can't please everyone all the time, right? So building a product for everyone is a user, anyone can use this thing that I'm building, is essentially just like building it for no one. If you're not thinking about someone, some human, some type of human in particular, then you're going to be making really broad decisions. And think about like Facebook.com these days, right? It's built to support teenagers or children all the way up to your grandma, right? That really is everybody. And the platform reflects that. It's totally bloated. There's so many features that most people don't want to use. It's not really what problems is it solving, So we believe that if you're not thinking about the actual humans that you're solving the problem for, then you could end up with a system that's essentially not solving any problems for anyone. So we believe anyways, of course one person can sit in a room and build a product, but we really do believe that to solve a big problem, that you're going to need to think about it from a couple of different lenses, approach it from a few different perspectives. And the way that we do that is with a whole product team. So we put together a whole team of people that work on solving big problems. This is actually our mission, just very specifically. Drawing a line in the sand about this human-centered approach. We're building digital products, but we're always thinking about the humans behind it. And so we put together a team of people that can infuse all the different elements that we believe are necessary to really build a successful product. So that's the strategy, the why, right? Research is validation. What are you really solving, and are you sure it's going to solve that problem? And then, of course, design and technology. And as an agency, we set up this team to basically extend the product team of whomever we're working with, whether it's an entrepreneur or a big company. What a product team looks like. This is the core team of folks. So we essentially have a product manager, an experience designer or UX, right? A product designer, which covers the UI, and a technologist. And we leave that really broad. So it really is dependent on the platform. So where this product person is really thinking about acting like a product owner and thinking about the strategy. What is it that we're building? What are the requirements? What's the go-to-market strategy? All of that important stuff. The experience designers, the folks who bring in the user context. They're the ones who are actually going out and talking to users, doing the research, doing the validation, and then coming up with a strategy for how this solution should function. The product designer, at least in our organization, really owns the final form and function of the product that we're building. So it's how it works, it's how it moves, it's how it looks. It's basically the forward face is essentially imagined by our product designer, and then the technology really brings in the brains. So we partner really closely as a team. We all work really closely together, using everyone's unique lens and unique experience to kind of bounce off of each other and come up with the most solid solution possible. And so it's definitely not you define the requirements, you make a wireframe, you do a design, and you build the thing. We really work as a collaborative team so that everyone is looking at the problem from their own unique lens, applying their own unique expertise to come up with a more successful product in the end. So we approach problems by first gathering empathy. And empathy just means the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, right? All humans are suffering. We're all suffering all the time. Finding that context and perspective on each individual human is what helps us understand and feel, right? To start gathering that empathy. And knowing that you can't really understand another person without going out and talking to them. We're all very, very different, and we all have our own uniqueness. And so because of that fact, we believe that it's really important to go out and talk to the folks that you're attempting to design something for. Remind clients of this all the time. You're not the user, right? You as the product owner or the person creating this piece of technology, you're not the user, right? You may want to use the product, right? It may be something that's solving a problem that you have, or maybe not. Again, this is something we have to remind clients of all the time. They say, I really understand the space. I've lived and breathed this space my whole life. The service that I'm offering now is just going to make it digital. Even still, right, that person, one person, you're not the user. So always thinking about who it is that's going to be using the product in the end and seeking them. I even think of folks that are building games, right? Building these really fun games for these kids. Here I am, a 35-year-old developer. Are you a kid? Like, do you know what's going to be really interesting for kids? Just go out and talk to the kids. My recommendation. Thinking about consumers have a ton to do, right? So going back to what problem are you solving? Is it a real problem? And is this something that people are actually going to make space in their lives for, right? What's going to make someone want to use your solution, whatever it is? So we're really talking about beating competing priorities here. But then also having empathy within our team, right? Even as you put together a team of people and we're all looking at a solution with different lenses, we really need to respect and leverage each other's expertise, right? So thinking about each person's unique perspective and what they can bring to the problem space and sort of adding that all in together to come to the best solution. At least is how we approach things. And the output of this sort of sense-making and design process will come up with some things we call user personas. You guys have probably heard of that. There's a few different types of people who have these characteristics. They like to do these things. They use these apps. This is their context and perspective, essentially. Goals, right? Like what are my goals? And this should relate to the problem. I have X problem. My goal is to solve X problem. But really getting real granular about those and remembering those as you're going through and building something. I feel like a lot of the stuff can get lost, so we'll actually type all this up and create like a tear sheet and post it next to our desks as we're going through design and development. So even when you're way in the weeds in your own feature X, you can think about, oh yeah, I'm building this for Sally and Tim. Well, Sally is going to want to do it this way, but Tim might want to do it that way, right? So always keeping these people in mind and making decisions, even way down in the weeds, based on those people, based on their goals. And then design criteria is truths to keep in mind as you're going through the product. So depending on the context, it may be something around security or trustworthiness or whatever it is. You'll have we try to come up with some criteria as a way to base decisions. So instead of just saying, I like this interaction pattern, this looks cool, this works cool, you have sort of things to base all of your decisions off of. Hope that makes sense. So all of those assets come together so that we can all have essentially a shared vision. The goal of this is every single person who's working on a product team should have a really holistic understanding of the solution. What it is that we're building, who are we building it for, why, how are we going to do it, right? And then going back to the agency model or delivering software for someone else, we all work together to set expectations for when this thing's going to happen. But really focus more and make sure that everyone on the team has a really great understanding of what we're doing and why, so that we can all share in this decision-making process, share in the success of the end product, and not just throw things at each other, right? The goal is really having, whether it's a researcher, a product manager, or a product designer, or a developer, all really working together and making each other's lives easier by utilizing the strengths of each person and not just throwing things over the fence. So value, right? You're building a solution that should provide some sort of value, and so that's more of a check, right? What is your motivation for greatness with whatever it is that you're creating? Why are you going to make it great? What value is it going to add to someone's life? Trying to move away from just building something, but really thinking about the why and how it's going to affect people in the end. Throw back to one of my favorite shows right now, Silicon Valley. Anybody? How can we make the world a better place? All right, so on to the fun stuff now. Interaction prototypes are so fun. This is something that we've been doing a ton of lately, and it's really it can be one of the most exciting parts of a new product anyways. It's the first glimpse of movement. You start to understand how things are going to move around within your product, so it's super fun. Interaction mockups, we use them to mock up the interaction even before we confirm the design. So even when we're, have a good understanding of how things should work, Well, put some motion behind it. Start to understand how a screen is going to transition to the next, way before you're anywhere close to development. Do it as early as possible. This really helps save a ton of time and rework. You're prototyping early and often, and you're confirming how things are going to work in design in an interaction prototype, which is much quicker and easier to create than building it out in code. Also try to, as much as possible, do some testing in design. So even more than just mocking it up and saying, yeah, that looks good, I like the way that moves, get it in front of the users, right? So the folks that you ideally talk to early on, the people that you understand their motivations and their goals, and you've built this product to solve some solution for them, get this back in front of them. Show them how you think this thing should move and how it should work, and get feedback from them early and often. Before you move it to development. So this is something that you could do quickly, even guerrilla style. We'll even just go to the coffee shop sometimes and find folks that are open and available. Hey, try this out. How does this feel for you? Assuming it's a general consumer type of thing. The goal here is really to create something concrete before you start putting it into code. So you can confirm physics, essentially, how animations move, angles and timing and easing and all of those kind of things you can figure out early on in design and make the implementation process a lot faster. Some of the tools that are available out there, we use mostly these days Sketch and then Quartz and Origami. Some pretty cool tools. Sketch in particular is kind of new on the scene. It's been a little bit of a movement from the Adobe Photoshop suite. I like Sketch because it was apparently built for designers or really thinking about mobile. They have a lot of templates. You can export a lot of stuff. It makes things easy. Nice plugins between Quartz and Origami too. So I'll show you guys some examples. Fun stuff. Anybody know a company called Silvercar? So they're a local startup here in Austin. They are currently hiring 2 iOS developers, if anybody's looking. They're an awesome team. We worked with them. Handsome worked with Silvercar as a client. Pretty tight team. We worked really closely together. We collaborated with them like 3 times a week in some cases. We really worked to confirm every single component, and these interaction mockups had a really big part in that. So we would try and confirm in one meeting, here's what we're thinking for this, here's how this thing is going to work, is everything ready on the server on the back end, is this feasible, is this going to work on iOS, is this going to work on Android? We did all of that kind of at the same time and used these interaction mockups as a way to pass things back and forth. So looking at this little guy here, see things moving around. This was built in Quartz, and starting from a really basic template, we basically grew this out with using layer groups. I'll show you guys an example of the Quartz file here in just a second. But we start working to essentially assign interactions to different hit areas. So we'll, starting from the static designs, you can assign a tap or a trigger. That's the little dot you guys see moving around there. And then for each interaction, anytime that there's a tap, you can assign all kinds of different values for how the screen is going to move, how those interactions are going to happen. One of the most basic, actually this one right here with the menu, is a basic pop animation. And for that you can set things like bounciness, how far the, wait till it goes back to it, but how far the screen bounces essentially when it moves, how quickly the whole thing happens, the total duration of the animation, the transition, there you go, the X and Y value, how things are moving, the opacity. You can essentially set a lot of these things in the mock-up, and that can be directly translated into code, which is pretty exciting. This one in particular, just setting up an initial reservation, right? Where are you going? What days are you going? At what times? Seems like really simple, and any single travel website you've ever used ever has some booking widget like this. We focused on this really as a signature moment, if you will, because a brand new user who's never heard of Silvercar before can download the application and quickly go book a reservation. that's their first and potentially only interaction with Silver Card. You could also check it out and never come back again. And so we wanted to make sure that it was really delightful and just better than what's out there right now. You know, we looked at everything else that's available. This is all built out in code. I have the real app if anyone cares to look at it. But it essentially works just like this. We were able to nail it down well enough in design that translated directly into development, and it was a lot faster to build than, you know, asking questions once we got into it. This is essentially what one of those files looks like. So you can see you establish the hit area, you can establish the transitions and interactions. It takes some learning. Doable. Next example I'll show you guys is a customer called Tagspire. This app is live in the App Store now. We just launched V1 a few days ago, actually, the MVP, if you will, minimum viable product for both iOS and Android are live. Tagspire is essentially like Pinterest with shopping. The interaction that we're mocking up here is attributing a tag to a new post. And so this again was a really signature moment for this application. You essentially add a new photo and then you can add a variety of different tags. The most common one and the one you see here is essentially a cell tag. And so you notice some of the like really fine animations here. Wait till it starts again, but right in the very beginning, even just selecting that you want to add a tag. Notice the image zooms in, there's a slight gradient at the bottom where the text comes in. All of that was just an effort to make sure that it was really, really clear what was happening. And then even once you go in to add the tag, that amount of bounce, you see there's a tap, and then the icons bounce out. They're actually increasing in size and increasing in opacity, and then same as when they collapse back down. And so it's very, very slight, right? Like the image zoom in the beginning is only like 5%. It's very slight. Even the gradient is very slight. All of the pops and the springs are all very minor, but we were able to figure all of that out in design. And in this one, actually, we exported it directly for our iOS developer to implement. And so that was like super streamlined for him. It was really, really, really easy. We did all the work in design, and he was able to implement it really quickly. I have this one on my phone as well, since it is live, and it functions exactly like that, which is so fun. Okay, this is what that one looks like. So all that interaction that you saw around that cell tag, this is it, not too much. All right, here's a couple of other examples. So we've started using this for basically everything. Obviously it's maybe most relevant in mobile and a small form factor, but we use it for web too. Really anything that we're working to nail down the design through Movement. We've added this as part of our process really early on to start putting some movement behind things. We do a lot of posts on Dribble. It's kind of a designer-friendly site. I encourage you guys to check it out. It's just some fun playing there. So, us here, learning about interaction mockups, we really can lead the change and believe in a better way to solve problems, right? Knowing that users expect a lot more these days. There's tons of great apps out there that are really pushing the limits. Like I know Facebook Paper is a big inspiration for everyone, and even thinking about, I mean, the way an app moves can be iconic of what it is. You know, you think about Flipboard. It's Flipboard because of Flipboards. You know, like that's it. It's kind of part of it, and so interactions really are leading this design convention, and you know, users are expecting it at this point. So through this collaboration, right, we can all push each other to make better products. Whether you know you're a developer and you maybe haven't worked directly with the product designer before, or you know even us as designers will sometimes you know feel like we want to lead a lot without bouncing off of our tech counterparts. And so just knowing that there's a lot of push that we can do in either direction, really in every direction, and that through viewing product design through different lenses, we can create more successful products in the end. And working to always push the limits, right? Like the tools are being updated, the platforms are being updated. There's so much exciting stuff that we can do here working in mobile. So let's make it happen. Quick recap, guys. Working to solve problems for humans. Try to work in a team as much as we can. Approach this product development through empathy and co-ownership. And then think through every moment that your user gives you to experience your product, to really be thoughtful about it and make it great. That's all I've got for you guys. Outside of looking at some cool apps, anyone else check those out? Questions?
So if somebody hires your company to like do a native iOS app, $100,000, $200,000, what are we talking about?
Depends what it is.
I'm sorry?
It depends what it is.
That one, TagSpire.
TagSpire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one
we're
that-
talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I'm sorry?
We're talking hundreds, for sure.
Multiple hundreds.
Yeah.
So you guys are not,
For design only?
No, design and development, yeah.
for the full product.
Mhm.
So when you guys do you get to the point where the technologist takes over, like you've already done all the prototyping and everything, do y'all do that all in-house or do you ship that out overseas? Who's doing your development?
We do it all in-house. Yeah.
In-house.
Yeah, we built the whole TagSpire product.
You talked about going out into coffee shops maybe, just asking to try something, depending if it's like a general use type app.
Yeah.
Are there any other strategies you might recommend for smaller developer companies or independent developers that are just working on their own as far as getting either a framework or a minimum viable product in someone's hands?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you'd be surprised how willing people are to help you out. And I just always just ask, right? Especially around here, it's a great environment, people out and about. Sometimes I'll use even like LinkedIn or meetup groups, especially if you're going after a specific target audience, and hopefully you are. Trying to find a group that caters to that audience and then reaching out to them. Assuming that you're solving a problem that these people have, you'd certainly be willing to test it out. Yeah, just ask. I'm always surprised by how willing people are to give, 5 minutes of time to check out something new.
We like to do like the show and tell meetups. Another one coming up soon. So in that case, show some people will tell you stuff.
So how many people do you generally interview on average for an app? And do you do formal interviews, or is it just like you just go outside of the office and talk to people that are walking by?
So there's different types. If we're doing generative research, say you just have an idea and it hasn't really been validated yet, then we'll first work to make an assumption about who the target audience is going to be, and then the magic number from a research standpoint is at least 5. You want to have more than 3, so we always try to gauge for at least 5 of a certain user persona. If you have multiple personas, you want to talk to multiple of each type. But if you're working to first validate the idea, I would try to talk to at least 5 people. If you're say the idea has been validated already and you know it's a real problem and you have a good idea about who is going to use this thing, then we'll sometimes create a quick concept, even a paper prototype or a wireframe, and try to get that back in front of those potential target users to have something to talk about. So the difference is, hey, I have this idea and this cool thing that I'm thinking about doing. What do you think about this? Versus, here's an idea that I have to solve this problem. What does this do for you?
So how many weeks do you spend on interviewing people, or is it just how much time on average to get 5 people to spend? And do you hire a marketing research group to find these people for you, or do you just go out and contact them yourselves?
Yeah, we usually do it more guerrilla style, honestly, and try to contact them ourselves or use our networks and our friends'
How long does that take?
A couple of weeks. Usually, even generative research, they will knock out in 3 or 4 weeks. And that's recruiting and scheduling is always the hardest part. once you find the people to talk to, it's pretty quick from there. But we follow a pretty rigorous process, and so I think you could do it a lot leaner, that would take less time. Because when you're just validating your idea, then just a few tidbits from people may be able to help you get there.
Do you do that for most projects, or do most projects have a tight timeline where they can't afford that?
We won't build or design something that doesn't have that context to it. So if we don't have the what, why, and who, then what do we do?
So when you take on a project, you break it up into phases, like, we're gonna do this phase and then this phase. And when you tell your client, you put a value on that phase, or do you guys work by the hour?
We put values on it, yeah. We generally establish a team. And so, we'll talk and say, well, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? What's your idea for a solution? What are your constraints? And then we'll put together a team of people. So a product manager, experience designer, product designer, and a technologist will say, this is roughly the amount of time that we believe these people will need to spend. And that's either like half of your time or all of your time, and that team over time equates to a cost.
Well, I thought that was your only team, the guys that you showed on the screen.
Oh, no.
Oh, so you have multiple teams like that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I haven't seen anything like testing. How do you guys test at the end? Once the app is made, what kind of things you do for testing the app itself?
We just build it perfectly, so there's no need for testing. Just kidding. I wish, right? We do standard QA testing. We have an integrated, engineer who's working alongside the developers to make sure that the end product matches the designs, and then we'll do typically some sort of user acceptance testing, whether it's with the client or our beta users or whatever we have available.
The reason why I ask is I belong to testing, so that's why no software is perfect.
Right.
So.
Right. And usually, if our QA will test against the designs. So does it look like it? Does it move like it? And usually that catches 95% of ones.
So for, who, why, and, what, do you have like a template that you use? Do you use Link Canvas? Or is it just something you guys made up, or is it specific based on someone's research or someone's work?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do use a variety of a Lean Canvas very early on to kind of establish the what and then the why. The who part of it, our specific approach is taught at the Austin Center for Design, AC4D here in Austin. They actually do weekend boot camps and stuff. I encourage you guys to check that out. And our team, our director is from that school, and so we follow that specific methodology. And what that looks like is going out and doing the research, recording it, both audio and visual, transcribing that audio, and then breaking out the actual snippets of what was said, externalizing that onto walls, and then working to sort of group tidbits together to form insights in that design criteria. So there's not really a template per se. The output, kind of what we talked about with user personas and design criteria, key insights, that's kind of a template, that we'll have for pretty much every product, but it's custom almost every time.
Is this dissection done by people you go out and randomly interview?
Is that what?
The dissection of the snippets of audio and video, follow where that's coming from.
Oh, sure. So we'd go out and talk to somebody. So I would interview you, and I would record our conversation.
Right.
And then I would have someone transcribe everything that you said in that audio, and I would cut that out. So your actual words, cut out like individual sentences, and then you might have said something that this gentleman also said, and so I would group those, externalize them up onto a board, get it out of your head, right, and start to find insights between what you said and what you said and what you said, right, and at those insights, those similarities between people are how you form those insights.
But those are the random coffee shop people, right?
Well, it depends. If you're doing generative research early on, then you really want to get into your target demographic and go after those people. The coffee shop stuff is usually more like usability testing.
I
Once
see.
we have a concept, you know, we feel really confident about it. Sometimes it's not as relevant that it's the actual user,
Mhm.
but more of just, you know, does this all make sense? Does this flow make sense? Can you break it?
Gotcha.
So what do you think is the hardest part of the design process to nail down? Is it the why, is it the who, is it the putting it all together? What have you on? Is it part trickier than the other?
That's a really good question. I'd say it's all pretty tough. I guess the what is really what you're designing, right? If you don't have a why, you shouldn't be designing in the first place. If you know, I would say if you don't know who, you also shouldn't be designing. And so coming up with the what is this solution really going to be, and how is it going to manifest itself to solve these problems, to accomplish the why for the who, you know. So I think the making it work part is probably the hardest part.
Just curious, do you turn away a lot of clients?
We do.
Huh?
Yeah, we do.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
But you guys really want somebody that really kind of knows what they want. You want to put an app out there that you feel is going to be successful.
Right. And it's just more fun, right?
Sure.
I mean, here's my idea, go build it is not fun, right? Because it was just your idea, and we don't have any shared understanding about it. We don't have any empathy for why and who we're building this for. Just building something just to build is just no fun.
That makes a lot of sense.
So how do you guys, if you're, getting a lot of people coming towards you for this stuff, turning people away, like how does you get the word out for them to even come to find you, to find Handsome? Is it just for referrals, or do you guys have like a network, or marketing, content marketing,
All that stuff.
all that stuff in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, we do marketing. I mean, our whole MO is just do really great work and make sure everyone knows about it. And so we do marketing, we do content marketing stuff. We try to show off the work that we do as often as possible. So we're pretty active on Dribble, and we have a lot of folks that will find us that way. We try to keep our website, fresh and up to date. So we'll have folks that'll just find us organically and they'll come across our website and say, "Wow, that's really cool. I want to talk to you guys." We do get a lot of referrals too, both from either past customers or past customers, investors. The brand is becoming more well known, so we're starting to just have people come to us just because they know us, which feels great.
We have a lot of people here in our meetup that are kind of just, they have a day job or something and they're working on iPhone apps, kind of the side fun thing. What advice do you have for them if they want to design something, or if they want to improve the design of the app they're working on, but they can't hire someone, or they don't want to completely become designers, they just want to make their app look a little nicer?
Yeah, that's a great question actually. And where we start, even though, we've created these designs in the past, or we're designers or whatever else, right? We always start in landscape research. So whatever product or solution you're wanting to solve, there's a competitive aspect, like what other solutions kind of do something similar to what you're trying to do. And we also look at analog products. So, for example, we're just building a middle market trading platform. No idea about this space even existing, right? So where we started was looking at similar types of products that do similar types of things. So we looked at project management software, right? They've got a lot of workflow stuff. We looked at document management, like docu-signing type of stuff, right? So that's one aspect of it. We looked at like Dropbox and file management, best practices. So we looked at analog types of products to get an understanding of how other, seemingly successful companies are accomplishing these problems in the marketplace today. Look at how they've done it and work to make it better. So same thing with Silvercard. We looked at every single booking widget out there. We looked at Hitbook and Expedia and you name it, right? And took all of the best practices from there and then made it better. You want a good design standard, just look at the Apple website, like those kinds of things, just kind of basing it on what's out there now, what's successful now, what people are using to accomplish some other problems, and try to base your design aesthetic, off of that or make it better.
Isn't that really time consuming and expensive though? for your clients?
For sure.
Doing all that, what you just said.
No. It doesn't take too long. No, and it's worthwhile. It's absolutely worthwhile. You know, if you're gonna design something, you know, that's doing something that's already been done 10 times before, you know, I think it would be ignorant not to look at how other successful companies are doing it. And, you know, we're really hoping to push the limits and make things better than they are today. And how can you do that if you don't know how it is today? It doesn't take that long.
Is your process pretty linear? I mean, you go through all of these steps, you go back a lot, and I mean, halfway you realize that the who for the what doesn't match, so you change it. Like say after you've done the interactive prototype, you determine, that was not the right who, so let's change the who.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. We validate sort of in steps. So we wouldn't move to an interactive prototype if we haven't first established that who, right? So that generative research is if we haven't validated the idea, right? We haven't validated that this is solving what problem for who, right? If we haven't done that first, then we focus there, and we'll do that
Once
first.
you pass that gate is bound. You go to the next.
Can you go back if you realize
Yes.
it's all wrong?
Well, sure. I mean, if it's all wrong, granted, hopefully there'd be some red flags that would happen before you get there. The one time where we do have to move backwards is, so say we've done some wireframes and we've got a good understanding of what this concept is going to be. Maybe we have some key screens and we're starting to think we have a framework in mind. Then we'll create an interactive prototype, and that may change the design. It may change the basic even framework. Once we start putting some movement behind some things, oh, this doesn't make sense to be a separate page or whatever else that we thought it might be. Once we see it moving around, we might want to go back and change the wireframes or change sort of the interaction model from the beginning. So sometimes that will happen.
So you're changing the what, not the who and the why, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great question. Luckily that hasn't happened to me at least.
Which of the functions is yours with the company?
Oh, mine, so I'm more of the product manager. I play product director at Handsome, so I work with almost all of our clients and kind of oversee from the top level. Really focus on vision and what is it you're wanting to get out of this and did you accomplish your goals?
What about post-launch, management of the product, iteration of the product, just in terms of the design process? MVP, and that's what really Steve might be interested.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, ideally you get something out there and see how your users are using it. For us, we almost always have some ideas about what, we get V1 out and we've already got ideas about what 1.1 could be. It's usually things that we had to deprioritize, to meet the release schedule. So we'll usually have something for 1.1 planned and in the works. Like TagSpire is a great example, right? We just launched, they've got a big event in a couple days, so we're still building, right? We'll have a 1.1 out in no time. For version 2, we will wait till we get some feedback from users. They're going to this big event, they're gonna have a bunch of people using it, they're gonna get a lot of immediate feedback. I imagine there'll be, bugs, random stuff that'll come out of that. But once we actually start getting some metrics from folks, then we'll really dig into those and understand where people are dropping off, what features are really most heavily used, maybe focus on those, what maybe isn't getting any attention at all, maybe people can't find it, all that kind of stuff. So we'll look at real user analytics and start making decisions from there.
So there's sort of another line of thought that I've heard, that says, you put 1,000 people in a user group, and you'll never come up with an iPod, right? They'll never come up with that idea. 1,000 people would never describe that. Would you say that is that a different approach, or is there some amount of overlap, or are there different products where one approach is where various approaches fit better, or is it just different lines of thought?
You're absolutely right. The one quote that we use a lot is from Henry Ford. If we would have gone out and asked people what they need, they would have told us they need faster horses.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
and people can only make one step, you know? And so we don't do research in order for the person to say, this is the solution that I need. It's more to understand their context and to derive what the pain points are, right? And they may say things like, I'm having this trouble, or this is frustrating, right? They're not gonna say, I need something that does X. They're gonna say, I'm having this problem. And so we work to really deeply understand what that problem is and why are you having that problem and when and how and all of that, you know? And then, you know, create a solution totally outside of that to solve that problem. And what the solution should be, you know, going back to your question, that's the hardest part, right? What it should be, the figuring out what the problem is and who's having this problem and why would we want to solve this problem, right, is what we work to uncover in research. And clients ask us that a lot of times, you know, well, they don't know about the solution, so they're not going to say that. Of course they're not. But if they can't articulate or can't somehow show you that they're having a problem, right? If there is no problem to solve, then what are we building? Right? It's a great question.
So, Taxfire?
Taxfire!
So I'm assuming this is not your app, you guys just designed, developed, and implemented the app.
Correct.
So from the time that these people met you till the time version 1 got in the store, how many months was that?
How long? Oh, that's a great question. Oh man, I don't know, off the top of my head. 6 or 7 months, I want to say.
I'm sorry?
6 or 7 months, probably. Yeah, and this is pretty full featured. I would not call this an MVP. You know, but
How big of a team was that working on it?
for Taxfire,
Yeah, how many people from Hanson were working on it?
probably about 7 or 8 people total. Not everyone full time.
And then when you get to the point where you actually say, okay, we've answered all the questions, we've got the interactive, we've got the wireframe, we've got everything done, you get down to the point where one of us has to actually start writing code. How many people are on that team?
Oh, I was including that in the numbers. But for us,
In the 7, you were including the developers. But do you usually put 1 or 2 developers, or?
it depends how fast you want to build something and how complicated it is. For Taxfire, we just had 1. No more, we just had 1. We had up to 3 engineers on each platform at any given time.
Oh, so 3 developers worked on the Taxfire at one time?
Yes, on iOS.
And then once you get to the point where you actually start, you know, putting it down, you write the code, how long is that, what was that time span out of the 7 months?
That was 6 sprints, 12 weeks.
12 weeks, and that's 3 developers working full-time, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's really great.
It's pretty good. And co-development with the client, they were doing all the back end.
I'm sorry?
Co-development, or we call it co-development, they were handling the back end. So that always introduces.
Oh, yeah.
We generally like to build everything. You know, we build the back end, we build the API, and we build the mobile apps, and then it's really easy.
Oh, so you all do all that too?
Okay.
So at what point do you tell your client, you really need to hire some in-house developers? Well, because I mean, you know, like they got version 1 out now, and you got version 1.1 coming. At what point do you tell them, you know, it's time for you to, you know, or do you ever do that?
We do, absolutely. Yeah, it really depends on the business model. For a lot of technology companies, they want to have the tech in-house and the engineers in-house. And so if that's the case, then I'll absolutely recommend it, even early on. We'll even tell folks, start finding a CTO now, and we can start ramping them up and all of that. So we're super happy to pass that on. We really prefer to do the initial product development and, let's create something new and shiny versus let's maintain it forever.
Yeah.
And so we very much prefer for clients to pick up their own team.
How many offices do you have
Just 2 right now.
in Austin and
Austin and Omsk, Russia.
is that where your development team is?
You got it.
How did you choose that location?
Just drew it out of a hat.
Sounds like it.
So there's 4 founders to our company, and the 4th founder lives in Russia. He's a native Russian,
Oh,
and that was kind of part of the deal.
interesting.
Open an office and build a team.
Interesting.
Yeah, all full time.
How many total employees are there to you?
We got about 40.
Is that right? Congratulations, that's great.
Yes, sir.
Can I snag a black hat?
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I'll show you a bucket.
Oh, cool. Can't wait to see it. Thanks.
All right, there's 5 hats left.
There are more hats. How about them?
one.
Yeah, please. Do you guys have any other questions? Wanna show off some abs? What do you want to do?
Show civil time.
First, okay.
I have some user feedback on the Maxfire.
Awesome.
When I downloaded the app, my first thing I wanted to do was log in, so I hit the login button, but I should have hit the sign in because I didn't have an account yet. And so I hit the login button, brought up the login, I hit Facebook login, and then it just told me that it doesn't work. So it would have made more sense to like create an account there.
Yeah. Good point.
But yeah, I really like these interactions. Like the switching tabs in the profile. Like how the triangle like jumps around.
Letting them easily upload a sticker to Amazon Web Services. You'll do any WordPress work.
Oh, so I'll show you guys. This is the Silvercar app in development. So you can see the one interaction you saw in the mock-up, or the menu.
It's not actually. It hasn't been in for either yet.
Disregard insane
The video is
compost
totally placeholder.
in the background. But the basic bounce, you see how the screen basically shrinks and bounce out, all of that was established in the prototype. And then this interaction of choosing a location. So speaking of analog applications, we actually based this interaction, or got the inspiration for this interaction from Yahoo Weather. Did they use that one? Yeah, so you can scroll through, and then once you actually choose a location, ta-da. So yeah, Yahoo Weather has nothing to do with travel whatsoever. It has
Fair to call another app an analog?
Say again?
You mean analog, not in, when you said analog, I was thinking like analog as in, not opposed to digital.
Oh, no.
I'm tracking with you now.
Yeah, similar product, but it's by analog. Okay. So even this part here spent so long figuring out the best way to do this interaction. That's fine.
You're getting server errors.
I know. It's a demo. I'll show you a tax bar in case you don't want to download it. Oh, they should download it. Tax bar. This is that tag interaction. So almost just like the prototype. The image zooms 5%, gradient on the bottom, add a tag, bounce interaction. Bounce. Bounce. See they expand and pop back in.
And that's
Add
Sketch.
a new tag. Yeah, we designed TagSpark completely in Sketch. Yeah, so wireframes, and then we don't like to say coloring, wireframes, but it very much was like coloring wireframes in Sketch.
Why wouldn't you use Swift, the Apple coding software?
Good question. We considered using Swift. Sketch is a design tool, so you can just create the wireframes in there, and then we didn't decide to build this in Swift. It was more of a competency issue. Our team is faster in Objective-C, still to date. And thinking of transitioning to the client's team too, they didn't want to deal with, having to find someone that knows Swift in particular. So we just kept it basic.
Makes sense.
How do you think about that going forward? Swift as a development team? You know, new projects, is Swift something you might start recommending more for the way Apple's going with that?
I think so. Yeah, with the way Apple is, I can imagine there'll probably only be a few releases until they say Swift is the only way. Right? And so yeah, I think probably the next one we build will be with Swift. Yeah, it's just
So many different.
building up the team competency and kind of accounting for the slowness at first.
Decides what they like the best.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of
I'm just
times
ask anybody else that question.
it's,
Michael,
what the keywords.
you building a Swift now?
I'm sorry.
A little bit.
Oh, sorry.
We're
I'm just
trying.
anybody else in the room?
Developers are trying to do all the Swift they can, and Apple's getting in the
Apple's not even using Swift for any of their apps, except for the WWDC app.
It really hasn't been ready for prototype yet.
Yeah, I would say Swift's got another year or two.
Right.
For-
For those mentoring.
It's not even a year old. I mean, you gotta be crazy to write an app in that and say, I'm assuming.
It's a little different though than, than Rust or or Go, where it's like an entire runtime. It's the same library, it's just syntax is different for the most part. With that being said, I went to convert an app and it didn't have try catch, and that completely broke several algorithms, and I was like, well, can't do that.
Yeah.
That's what I was sitting on top of, through exceptions, so. What do you do? Stay with Objective-C.
Are y'all doing everything in native Objective-C? And did I hear you right? Did you say your whole development team that writes code is not in the US?
How do you deal with time differences?
What is time?
Do they work at night?
We have some overlap. Yeah, they come online, our evening, and then they'll overlap in the morning. Usually it's about 11 or 12. And it's just that on a per project basis, we'll set meeting cadence, whether we're gonna meet at night or in the morning. Usually it's what the product manager wants to do. But we use Trello, so it's easy collaboration. We also use Slack, and so we try to stay as close as we can. Here's what we worked on today, team, so they can review it overnight and post comments to us in the morning. So it's almost like a 24-hour cycle.
Are the product managers and project managers, are they different people or are they usually the same people?
They are different people. Yeah. So the product manager is really tasked with being sort of like a stand-in product owner. They're responsible for getting up to speed on the client's vision and background and really being able to make decisions in place of the client. And so they're thinking really strategically about the product and what it should be and how it should work, and getting into the weeds with the team. Where the project manager is more facilitating meetings and timelines and taking care of budget and all that fun stuff. Yeah. Different brains.
What apps other than yours do you think have really nice design?
What apps have really nice design?
The other ones that you haven't worked on specifically, but you think are kind of like market leading design.
Good question. One that I really like is called Elevate. It's a brain training app, just silly little games. But the interactions there are really, really nice. And there's the other one that I referenced, actually I've deleted it off my phone. I assume it's still out there, but mostly referencing something I don't have on my phone. It's called Secret. It was
Did they not shut down recently?
Yeah, they just
Did they shut down?
last
Oh,
year.
yeah. That was one of my favorites. I thought the onboarding and login process there was just so delightful. They did a lot of really interesting, sparkle here, sparkle there, contextual, helpers, if you will. Similar to Facebook Paper, it's just really smart. It's like only like every third that it'll pop something up. I really enjoy stuff like that.
As far as your clients, do you have any? Sounds like a lot of these are startups, but people who already have an idea. Do you have any like enterprise clients or big companies that they have a business that they just have to add an app to work within your bigger system? Or how do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we work with some companies, bigger. I guess we have kind of three buckets of clients. So thinking of the startup, the entrepreneur, I've got an idea, back on napkin kind of thing. We work with some clients like that. Second type of client I'd say is more established startups. So like Silvercar, for example, they've been in business for a year and a half before they met us. They have a product, they have customers, they have revenue. We're basically doing a redesign or reimagining of their brand, if you will. And then the third type, which we're starting to work more with, but very selective, because we want to follow this approach. We'll kind of add on products or add on different types of services. Starting an engagement really soon, actually, with a customer like that. They have a really strong web product, and all of their traffic right now is through web, and so they're going to build their first mobile app with us. Startups are the most fun. Big enterprises, like too many regulations.
Startups, are they able to pay $100,000 for an app?
They are.
because they have venture capital or angel investors.
Yeah, we'll very rarely get folks that just have sort of like initial seed fund, but usually they're like Series A.
It's the advantage of enterprise is that it's not $100,000 projects, we're talking $5 million projects, the enterprise space.
Much longer time frames, much bigger teams, much more nonsense.
What's good is the big web companies that have small design or small mobile team, and you get to work with them. And they have budgeted for a small team.
That's the best. Yeah, usually we're clued into some like, you know, the startup within the big company. You know, can't give any examples without saying client names, but thinking about that like R&D group within a big company, that's usually who we're plugging into.
How many projects do y'all have going on right now?
10.
10, wow.
Yeah. All in different stages.
Do you do most of your projects full cycle, or sometimes, or a lot of them just discovery? Do you have even those, even break them up in that way, or is it always like, if it's not end to end, then we're not doing it, or is it, do you often do just discovery for one, and then things, and how, like, is the majority of discovery or design, or is it?
Yeah, like is there a small commitment thing someone can work with you before getting to a bigger project?
Yeah, great question. So the breakdown's probably half and half. We have a lot of clients that will just do design for, and that's by design, right? Like Silvercar, for example, they have a whole in-house team. Tech is their company, so it's important to that they build good tech. So we do have some clients like that where it's about half and half. We generally do ask for some sort of minimum commitment. We've changed some of how we do, and now our minimum commitment is a little bit broader. So we usually ask for at least 8 to 12 weeks, and we haven't done just discovery. We usually just go through like concept design, and so it's let's help you do some research, figure out what it should be, and then show you what that thing should look like, or at least an idea of where your concept is going, and that would be the first phase in most cases. So we're doing at least 8 weeks of work together, coming up with something tangible, and then deciding where to go from there. In most cases, we'll go through at least full production design, and then in say half the cases, we'll do the full end development. Awesome.
You've been great.
All right, so that is our main talk for today. But we still have 40, 50 minutes, so we can still talk about other things. We can either do like a bigger discussion, like people bring up topics that everyone talks about, or we can do smaller groups. Anyone have a preference for it? I think we should first start talking see what people are thinking about the Apple Watch. Maybe how that people's impression. Anyone seen Apple Watches? Anyone started working on apps? Anything like that?
Got one in the App Store, so.
Cool.
You were working on one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did 2 apps. One was a flashcard app I made myself. Another one was for a client app. And it was an interesting experience going through the App Store review. Usually it takes at least a week before Apple starts reviewing something after you submit it. With this watch app for the client, we got 3 approvals in 1 week of our app. So we submitted 3 versions, and all 3 of them got approved in like 5 days. So really different experience. Meanwhile, we submitted another client's app, and it took 10 days of waiting before they looked at it. So they were totally focused on watch apps, and if you don't have a watch app, they were just ignoring you.
Where do you find all these? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can now control your thermostat from your watch if you want.
Cool. Yeah, in the Nest app or
Honeywell.
Honeywell?
Honeywell app.
Cool.
Where do you find all these apps on the Apple website?
The watch apps?
Yeah.
Well, in the Apple Watch app on the iPhone, the Apple Watch app on the iPhone, there's a store in there. It'll show you all the apps.
You can also peruse and it'll have a little notice there, like Apple Watch available or something, so it'll have a little circle logo.
What was your app?
Oh, it was a little fortune cookie app, just entertainment. I was so disappointed they don't have an entertainment category in their little browsing section,
Yeah.
like the way they do with the regular app store.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just kind of tucked away in the corner. But if you search something like humor or joke, it comes up like as of a couple weeks ago, it came up like the fourth suggestion. So it was fun to have it in there. Odd Fortune.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
That's the thing.
That's the one.
Yeah, if you search for flashcards, I was like number 3. On the App Store, I'm like number 80. But for the Watch Store, I'm number 3. So. I also had the other idea was like a coin flipping app that I had. Like 25 people made that app. So there's like 25 coin flipping apps out there now. So.
I've seen only one that I thought was really cool. A friend of mine created one that was like a Simon Says.
Okay.
So it's just a game. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw one that's called Watch and Repeat. It was also Simon Says.
There you go.
Yeah, and my favorite so far has been the Things app. They have, they pretty much are one of the few apps that's actually using a ton of animation. But it's really hard on Apple Watch to do animation because you technically can't. You can just show like GIFs basically. And so I guess they just bundle a bunch of different GIFs in the app and they use those to do really good animations. So there's like, when you complete a task, there's like a gradient that like flows over the task, where most other apps it just like, you can click on it and then it just, the opacity changes, but that's it. So Things is really good watch app. Actually made me like transition to using it as a to-do app now, just because it's a nice watch app. Yeah, but and then all the Apple Watch apps are really good. Like their fitness app is awesome. It has like really cool animations, like transitioning between like what you want to view while you're doing exercises. So it's exciting for when we finally get to do like the native apps that Apple's doing. So that's gonna be a cool breakthrough. And WWDC is a month from now, so maybe something comes out there. Probably not. But yeah, that's watch apps.
Yeah, I don't know if watch apps are going to be a really big thing. I mean, the watch face is the prime real estate for the watch right now.
Uh-huh.
The thing I haven't experimented with downloading many apps. Like I've had several, like my bank and Mint and a few others and stuff that I played with on the phone, some news apps. But otherwise, I don't know if it'll be like the cash cow it was with the iPhone, obviously, or something to make a watch app.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Hope to those watch face, third-party watch faces.
Yeah, that's
Some
cool.
kind of template where they let you fiddle around within their pristine Apple guidelines or something. Make that would be nice.
What doesn't have an NFC, right?
It does have NFC.
It does.
Yes, so you can you can use Apple Pay with it. And although it's a really weird interaction, like you push, you like double tap on the side to get your card to come up, but then when you actually put it up to the scanner, like nothing happens.
Oh, I get a little tap when I do that.
Oh, it's a tap. Okay.
A little tap and then the lights on the register go.
Okay. Yeah, I was using it at Whole Foods, and they don't really do anything on the register. So like when you use the iPhone app, it'll show you like little check marks that it works. But with the watch, I like didn't notice anything. So I was just like standing there. I was like, is it working?
Watch those ones. Yeah, forward. But I found that Apple Pay on the watch works much better than the phone. It's a much quicker interaction for me. It has worked 3 out of 4 times. I think the time it didn't work was user error.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the battery?
Oh, battery, no problems at all. I barely, like the first day I was using it all day and I had like 40% left. And like right now I have 61% left. It's almost the end of the day. So battery hasn't been a problem. That's because it's very aggressive about saving battery. that you notice in the third-party development tools. And, but yeah.
Latency issues.
Yeah, so it's third-party apps. So they have, some of them, sometimes it takes weirdly long to launch apps. And then some apps, some of the third, and then aside from latency, some of the apps like don't, are just, some apps from like big companies, they just totally mess them up. Like there's Strava makes a fitness tracking app where you can track your runs and bike rides. And they have a watch app where you can start a timer, and the timer will start going. And you go, biking, and I looked down after 10 minutes, and the distance was still 0 miles, and I was like, that's weird. And then I get to the end of the bike ride, and I stop it, and it says like check, okay, good. And then I go back to my phone. My phone knows nothing about that exercise. It's like didn't happen. I think all it does is like it shows you a timer.
Yeah, and we use Strava also, and it just fell in its face. It's like, it worked in the simulator.
Yeah.
That was it, but it was
Yeah.
And like MyFitnessPal does the same thing. It tries to like sync up your steps with the watching phone, and there's a lag there, which is strange because it's right on the phone too, like the step counting. So I don't know if that's just.
Why would Apple release something that doesn't work after they review it so rigorously?
That's true. Yeah. I guess they didn't actually like run around with it, so they didn't notice. They saw the timer was working, and I guess they didn't confirm that it was using the distance. Yeah. Also, really weird is there's no reminders app on the watch, so you can't see your Apple reminders on the watch, which I thought would be obvious thing to show reminders, but there's no reminders app.
So there's no push notifications that show you an appointment at such and such.
Those do. No, what I mean is there's the Apple reminders app that you can make lists in, and you can add to-dos. If you like tell Siri, remind me of this, she'll add it to your reminders. And so if you have an alert on one of those reminders, that'll show up. But there is no reminders app, so you can't use them.
You do calendar stuff just fine.
Yeah,
the
calendar, right.
reminder sections.
And dictation works real well too for messaging.
Yeah, I've been using that. Like whenever I get text messages now, I just respond by voice, and then I found a setting. There's a setting in the watch app where you can skip the question of do you want to send the audio of what you just said, or do you want to send the text. So check really quick to just like say what you want and respond back. Which you can do with Siri, but it seems more natural when you're just like this instead of like holding a phone and talking to it.
Do you feel like Siri's gotten any better? Like when the Plus first came out, I was using it a lot, but it seems like it's just not really very accurate. Kind of frustrating. I wonder if it's better now.
Yeah, I don't think Siri got any better. I think I've gotten better at talking. But yeah, Google's voice recognition is better.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like it.
Okay, Google.
Okay.
Right, yeah. Also looking forward to a Google Maps app.
Yeah.
I had it plugged in. I did the Apple Maps and was getting the directions and stuff, which I thought was cool, but and it worked this time. It just failed me several times in the past on important occasions. So, yeah, hoping Google will have a nice little extension Apple Watch app to do step by step.
How many folks in here have Apple Watch?
That's 5, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, the adopters.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, cool.
How do you think the design? How do you think design is different for like wearable kind of Android Wear, Apple Watch compared to phones?
It's just a smaller form factor. I wonder if we all say mobile first now, so we're all thinking we're going to design for this screen, right? Yeah, I could imagine at some point it'll be watch first, right? So it's like comes down to sort of like information architecture too. Like, what's the absolute most important thing that you're trying to show off? Good, because you've only got a tiny little screen to shove it in. just the next step for me is like so incredibly small. It's kind of hard to think about.
And it's tricky with the apps, like you really need, like I didn't build notifications into my little Apple Watch app, but I'm thinking like, you really need to do that because otherwise you're rarely just perusing through your apps, you know, the way, because your home screen opens up, all the apps are in front of you. You say, oh, there's this app that I like, I'll go to that, which you really don't do with the watch because your watch face shows up first and it takes another step to get down to the apps. So like,
Staying like this is uncomfortable.
so
After 10 seconds, you're like, I'm done.
yeah, so with like, you'll need glances and notifications will be more important if you're gonna make something for the watch.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's really not an interaction as much as it's a glance or notification.
I would like to have a nice, like a better way of like finding a glance, like you know which one you're trying to get to, but having them like all in a row is like, it seems like too much work. Like if maybe it's like a grid or something where you could like get to the one you're trying to get to faster. Swiping is or even if you can use a digital crown to like, can you do that? I don't think you can do that. Like scroll to the glance that you want, that'd be cool. No, you can't do that. Yeah, if you could scroll to the glance you want, but like having to do a full swipe for each glance is a lot of time to get there. Would also be kind of cool if glances were like an iOS thing too. Like if I could have like on my iPad, have all the glances, you could see them all. Maybe that would be a thing. I think, but that's something that more like kind of Android thing with widgets, right? Don't they have, yeah, kind of the widgets? I think so.
The OS 10 dashboard doesn't really come over to iPhone. That would kind of fit into that widget.
Yeah. So I'm starting to plan next month's meetup, and I'm thinking it's probably going to be a show and tell meetup. So that's going to be people showing off apps that they've built recently, prototypes if they have those, or any kind of cool development techniques that they've discovered. I've been doing a lot of figuring out some like cool automated testing things with different things outside of just unit tests. There's like snapshot testing is a really cool thing that I've figured out how to do. Basically lets you like take snapshots of your UI, different screens, so you can like write a test that puts your screen in a certain state, and then you can take a snapshot of that. And then as you know, a week later you're working again, and one of those snapshots changes and you weren't expecting it to, they'll alert you about that. And so you can know if like something far back in your app broke by just taking snapshots of it. So that's one of the cool projects Facebook kind of put out there, and testing that. So maybe I'll prepare a little demo for next time and show how that works. Let other people think about using it. But yeah, if anyone else has any show and tells they want to do next time, just let me know. I'll also put out announcements asking for people to do things. But that's probably one thing. We do have one other person we're talking to about doing a presentation, but they're kind of slow, so it might be July until that one comes. So it'll be perfect for a show and tell next time.
Great. I have a question.
Yeah.
Like coming from Java background, enterprise apps, and just starting iOS development, what generally recommended for when the that's possible?
Yeah, so it really depends on the person, what works best for them. For me personally, it was I started off with a web or a video kind of tutorial, like a 40-hour set of videos, and just followed along with what they did. And then I got a book that went through the details and let me slowly digest things. The videos was the Linda course on iOS development, and the book was the Big Nerd Ranch. Yeah, that book. So that's the two things that I started that got me up to the point releasing the first app. So from there, it was there. After that, I didn't really have any big things. And then for further development, what's really good is WWDC videos, watching those. The Objective-C.io, it's a website periodical that has really good content, always every month, focused on a certain topic. And so you can go, they've got about 18 or so topics now, and so you can go back whenever you're trying to figure something out, you can read kind of the best content on those, and they also often link to other really good stuff, so that's a good source. And yeah, from there, that should get you to a pretty good spot.
Are Stanford classes still available with CS193?
Yeah, so people say really good things about that. I have not watched it.
I think that was a little bit dated, but it's pretty good. Yeah, I think it's for a couple of years behind.
It's redone in Swift. He does it in Swift.
Oh, did it? Okay, I haven't seen that one.
So I started in Swift, it's that Stanford zone, we don't like Swift yet, but it's kind of like where I started.
Yeah, so it's definitely, so I think really the hardest part of iOS development is understanding all the frameworks.
Yeah.
And those are going to be the same. So for learning, I think it's great. Just for kind of for the consideration that we have working for clients, it just makes more sense to them to use Objective-C, and also that's where all our development team has experience with, so we're able to work as Objective-C. But for learning, I think they both have a lot of potential, especially from Java. It's more similar syntax, so it should be an easier transition. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Anyone else have anything they still want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to see, did everyone get a ticket to WWDC?
Nope.
Really? Just not a lucky bunch. I want to invite you all. We're going to, I'm just putting it together, just started thinking about it yesterday. Organizing a WWDC keynote and mixer on June 8th. I've got a room, I work for Whole Foods, so we've got a room, we've got really good food, we've got really good beer, and I'm opening it up to the iOS community at large, and we'll start with, we've got some big screens too. So yeah, we'll do the keynote, which I think will be at noon, and then we'll follow it with like what's new in Xcode or what's new in Cocoa session, and then just after that, just kind of mellow out and crack beers.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone's interested in coming to that, my name's John Fricker, and my email is john.fricker@wholefoods.com. And just let me know you're coming. The more people I can kind of get a yes or a maybe from, the more food I can get to get in the room for us.
And we could, if we want to, we could make it a meetup, like an extra meetup. So we could still have our normal June meetup, but we could have that on there as an event if we want to. Have everyone RSVP in there.
Bonus meet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about it.
Cool.
Yeah, if you get in touch with David, get the contact information.
We'll still need an RSVP.
Yeah. Yeah. So also email.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for coming, and I look forward to seeing you next month.